A special thanks to my Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Boaz Mori, and my Rebbe, Rav Michal Siv. I think that one of the salient themes of this week's parsha, Parshas Mishpatim, is kavod, respect, dignity, however you translate it. And it starts right away at the beginning. Ki tikneh eved ivri, shesh shanim ya'avod uvashvi'it yetzeh lechofshi chinam. If a situation arises where you have control, ownership over a Jewish slave, whereby the Jew steals from you, and he doesn't have the money or the land to pay you back, so the Beis Din, the courts, they sell him into your domain, into your ownership, and for 6 years he serves you to pay back the debt. And on the 7th he goes free. Now there are laws about how we treat these slaves. We have to treat them better than we treat ourselves. For example, if there's only one pillow in the house and it's between you and your slave, you give it to your slave. So the slave doesn't have anything to worry about. You're taking care of his food, you're taking care of his shelter, and he's enjoying his life here. Imamor Yomar ha'eved. So the Eved gets to the point where he's saying and he's insisting, Ahavti et Adoni, I love my master, et ishti, the wife that he gave me, the Shifcha Kanani, the non-Jewish slave that he gave me as a wife, Vet Manai, and the children that came from that wife, who are also not Jewish. Lo etzei chofshi, I don't want to go free. I want to serve longer. The parsha points out, the pasuk says, V'imamor Yomar, he says it and he repeats it. So the Gemara in Kedushin says he has to say it twice. Because maybe the first time it was a mistake, a ruach shtus nichnas bo. It was folly. Because who would really want to remain a slave? But if he really does insist he wants to be a slave, what's the next case? What's the next step? V'gisho adonav el ha'elohim, v'gisho el adelet o el mezuzah, v'ratza adonav ozno b'martzeh v'avado le'olam. You take him to Beis Din, and then you give him his ear piercing, very famously. Why take him to Beis Din? Why not just give him the ear piercing? We know what the Torah commands us. We know he has to get the ear piercing. Why can't we do it ourselves and be done with it? Why bring Beis Din back into it? So Rashi says, El ha'elohim leBeis Din. Tzarich sheyimalech b'mochrav shemachruhu lo. You have to go back to the original Beis Din that sold him into slavery to get their yimalech, to get their advice. What advice? What do we need from this Beis Din? What are they serving? They don't need to give us permission. We already have him in my domain, and he's the one who's saying, I want to stay longer. Why does Beis Din need to get involved? So the Netziv in Ha'emek Davar explains, the Beis Din is involved shiochichenu. They should give him tochacha and straighten him out. She'ein kedai. What are they going to tell him? She'ein kedai. It's not appropriate. Bishvil ahavat isha hakenanit ubanim zarim lekapeach kevodo. Because lo yashuv liyachas avotav. It's not worthy of you. It's not appropriate. It's not befitting of you in your love of your master, not to mention your wife who's not Jewish and your children who are not Jewish, to forego your kavod, because you're never going to go back to that stage that you were before. You're losing your yichus. You're losing your pedigree. You're never going to go back to that level of kavod that you had before. It's not worth it. It's not worthy of you. That's why I bring in the Beis Din. Right away we start with kavod. Now it's mashma like that from this, that it's not worthy to diminish your kavod, the way people are going to perceive you, the way the future generations before you are being cut down, because now you're just a slave. And you're continuing your life with these slave children. It's not worthy of you. But it would be worthy if there was a Jewish wife, it was Jewish kids. My friend Morty Rapp, he likes to say that one of the most important recipes to success in marriage is to be, as a husband, is to be mevater, is to give up, to be mevater your kavod. Ego doesn't have a place in a relationship. Reb Boaz, he liked to tell a story about a newlywed couple who went before the Rebbe, the Rosh Yeshiva, and the wife went with a little bit of a complaint. She said, my husband is refusing to take out the trash. When I asked him to take it out, he says it's beneath my kavod. It's not worthy of me. And the Rebbe said, he's right. If he feels it's not worthy of him, if it's beneath his kavod, then he doesn't have to do it. So the wife was a little bit distraught, but she accepted because it was their Rav. And they went home that night. They went to sleep, and in the middle of the night they were awakened to hear some clamoring downstairs, and it was the Rosh Yeshiva taking out the garbage. He turned to his Talmud, he turned to his student, he said, it may be beneath your kavod, but it's not beneath mine. There's another case that comes up a couple prakim later Kitir echa morson acharo veitz tachad masa'o. If you see the donkey of somebody you hate struggling under the weight it's carrying too much, it's too much of a burden. V'chadalta me'azovlo, says Rashi, you're going to let it happen? You're just going to leave him alone? No, azov to azavimo, you have to help him. Get over your hate, get over your ego, get over your kavod, and help your friend. Now, Rashi points out, v'chadalta me'azovlo, there are times when you do not help. For example, if you are a zaken, if you're an old man, or you are a zaken, you are a chacham. Zaken is zesh shekana chachma. If you're a chacham and it's beneath your kavod, it's beneath the kavod of Torah, to help out, you don't help out. The Rambam codifies this into halach, and the Rambam says, if a chacham wants to go above and beyond the letter of the law, if he wants to go lifnei mishurat hadin, he can go ahead and help out. But the Torah and the Rosh have a problem with this. There's a halacha that's brought down in Gemara and Kedushin, harav shemachal al kavodo kavodo machol. A rav has the ability to forego and overlook his kavod, and he can help out. But that's not true here. The Torah and the Rosh say he's not allowed to help out here because the Sma explains you're allowed to be mochel on your kavod. However, you're not allowed to mevaze your nefesh. You can't put your soul, your nefesh, into that place. For example, a kohen can't be metame, can't go into a graveyard to help somebody out, even to find a lost object, to return a lost object to its owner, because that's a bizui hanefesh. That's beyond kavod. It's a bizui hanefesh. So what's the alternative, according to the Torah and the Rosh? If he can't forego his kavod, what can he do? Well, he can use his money. There's a case of Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, who was once going along on a path, and some yid asked him, help me out here. I have some trees I need to move off my donkey. And Rabbi Shmuel was, a nasi, Rosh Yeshiva, Rosh Galus, and he said, I can't help you. So he bought the trees from the man, and then he left them alone. Because money isn't kavod. What is kavod? Another case of kavod. Vidal lo tehedar berivo. You shall not, if a court case comes before you and there is a poor person who comes before you, don't be mahadar him, don't be mechabed him. That's usually what it means. As we see in Parshas Kedoshim, it says, lo tisa pnei dal velo tehedar pnei gadol. Don't give kavod to somebody who's great. How do we understand hidur, kavod here? So, the kavod here, how do you give a kavod to a poor person? So Unkla says it's not kavod, it's rachamim, it's mercy. But there are those who say the kavod here, Rav Avram Chassid in the Ravam explains, we're talking about a case of a person who is porish from the Tanugei Ha'olam, an ascetic. If an ascetic who to others may look poor, but internally he feels very rich, he's not constrained by the pleasures and hedonistic ideals of this world. So we might want to give him kavod and treat him like a chacham. Don't do that. So we see the kavod that we might really want to bestow upon someone comes from our actions. It's not the money, because we can use money instead of our kavod. But our actions, the action of asceticism, the action of remaining a slave and not being God's slave, avadahem velo avadim lavadim, our actions determine our kavod. We know that it says, Mipnei seva takum vehadarta pnei zakein. This is on the back of every bus in Israel, on the front of every bus in Israel, that you should go back in the bus if you're younger, if you're capable, let the elderly sit up front, stand up for them to give them a seat, or to soldiers who are tired. Mipnei seva takum, those who are older, stand up for them. Vehadarta pnei zakein, give hidur, give kavod to a zakein, somebody who has chachma, and even just an elderly person with life experience. And the Ran goes a step further, and the Ran says every single person we should look at as a zaken, as a chacham, as somebody to learn from, because ezehu chacham halomei mikol adam. Every single person has something to teach, and every single person has an action that's worthy of kavod, has done an action that's worthy of kavod. And we can always find and pinpoint that action, because that which we focus on becomes our reality. That's what we're looking at. That's where the kavod comes in. There are points where we have to mivater our kavod altogether, and there are limits to that, as we see. But for somebody else, we have to find every excuse to be mechaved them. My friend Israel Kushner, he likes to say that about those who are older than him, he says these people are more experienced than me, and those who are younger than me, have less sin than I do. That's the message here. Kavod, dignity. Every single person deserves it. Every single person deserves our kavod. It's easier said than done. You hear something that we should learn to get over our own ego and minimize our kavod and not go after kavod, but go after the kavod of others and care about others and restore their dignity and make sure they never forget it. Good Shabbos.